Hey, ladies and gents, we're back with some Avorion. We're talking about combat. Now, before I get started, this is for the new players. Most of this videos I'm doing for new players. If you're old players, you already know this shit. New players, if you want to get a hold of me, you got questions, you want to ask me some stuff, jump into my Discord. I'm usually on from 7 Central to about 9 Central. It's in my About on my YouTube page, we have a Discord. Jump in, ask your questions. I'll help you as much as I can. So with that said, let's talk about combat. I never really don't think I've ever did a video on this, and this is probably for more like for the new players, how to do combat, because the game is pretty. Oh, I don't know what you want to call it. It doesn't throw too many loops at you. It's pretty easy. They send essentially beyond the boss fights, which are usually 1-on-1 or 1-on-4 or whatever, or you have to do something silly like build a ship out of rock. But if you're going to fight either the pirates or a faction, you get sent. The ships get sent in waves, and that waves is the problem, right? You can usually have ships that are powerful enough to defeat, say, like 3 ships. However, when you have 20, it makes it a little different, a little harder, especially since you can't build 15-slot ships anymore, where you can just go in and tank them with all your shields. Got to be a little more creative in this. So this is how I do it. There's multiple ways of doing this. Don't get me wrong. This just to me works the best when I usually do this. You can use carriers too with fighters. Fighters, however, in a running battle aren't really the greatest because they're too slow to keep up, and sometimes they get left behind. Now, if you have a tanky enough ship that you can do it with, fighters work great because you're going to be sitting in one area and they're not going to be moving around too much. But however, if you're not strong enough, you got to deal with a bunch of ships. The fighters just don't make sense because, like I said, they can't keep up with the fight. Ships, why? It's the one thing I want to tell you. I'm not going to tell you exactly. Everything's dependable upon your difficulty levels, where you're having the fight. If it's by the barrier, is it back of the Iron region, all that kind of stuff. All that shit changes. Also depends on what kind of weapons you have, all that kind of stuff. However, typically when I'm doing these fights with multiple ships, I try to essentially kite them, which is I try to lead them out, try to get them in a line. I try to pick them off with long-range weaponry. For example, this one's got, I don't have no cannons or railguns, which is what you can use for your long range, anything over 20 kilometers. These ones are rocket launchers with seekers, so I got 2 of them for the long-distance fights, that kind of stuff. The one thing that you do on your ship, you want to make sure that it's got a lot of energy. At least 5 times as much as required, because it sucks losing energy in the middle of a fight. So make sure your ship has got a crap ton of energy. I'm not going to tell you about what you should have put in your shields and all that kind of stuff. It's entirely how you ever want to build your ship. Typically, these kind of ships that I fight, these are geared toward a fight, which means lots of shields, lots of weapons, which is generally what you see with, for example, the subsystems. Lots of shields, lots of turret controls, that kind of stuff. 10 slots limit you to a certain degree. One thing you got to remember, like I said, this game is very predictable in the sense that when you get into a fight in a sector, so now we're actually going to be fighting, where'd it go? That one right there. We're going to be getting into the fight there with the 5 ships of the Umayyadids pirates. I don't know, why can't we just do regular words instead of that. However, every system you jump in, and we'll do this in a defense video. I was talking about setting up a sector, setting up a base. This is part of that. I'll go into more detail on that. But every time you jump into a sector, depending on what direction you come from, you have essentially 8 points that you're going to jump. You can possibly jump into a sector. So I've jumped in from 4 different directions just to show this what I'm talking about, and it creates kind of a square. You jump in from the other sides, and this one will be out a little further, so it ends up being kind of a circle. This is where all ships coming into this system are going to land. That's something you need to know when you jump into a fight like this. You don't want to fight in this. If you're weaker than if you can't take 20 ships and you can't tank them, how do you make this fight? You don't want to jump inside the circle. You don't want to fight inside the circle. Because as you're fighting one ship, you finish off 2 or 3 of them. 4 more jump in. They're right there. Your shields don't get time to replenish, all that kind of stuff. You want to be the fight wants to be way out there. Oops. I'll stay right there. You want to be way out here. You want to be away from this circle of death. The point I'm trying to make is you don't want to get englobed. You don't want to get surrounded by multiple ships nailing you from all sides. What we want to do is create a line of ships on the way out. What that line does is, as they're chasing you, they don't maneuver. So it's easier to hit the ships with your long-range cannons, your long-range railguns, your seeker shot missiles, what I'm going to use on this one, that kind of thing. I also use a fair amount of torpedoes. The torpedoes are cheap. They're great for long distance. The one problem with torpedoes, they have a hard time hitting the enemy because the enemy is maneuvering. When you make that line of them chasing you, they stop maneuvering. They're just following you. Easiest way to kill them, right? So they're not maneuvering, so the torpedoes have a better chance of hitting them, as long as they don't have a bunch of defense guns, and you'll be able to see right away which ones has defense guns, and you don't want to target them, you target the other ones. Gives you a chance to blow up 2 or 3 before you have to get into a fight. Okay, that's, like I said, something to remember. That like this, like you said, this circle of death, let's not stay in there. We want our fight to be way out, somewhere out in here. Okay, you go up past 200, 250 kilometers, and if you're not engaging these enemies, they will jump back to this circle, and then of course you have to come back and get them or fight them or jump back yourself. Just something to remember. Okay, let's jump out of this. And we're going to jump to what we're talking about with the second of this fight. I do use multiple ships. As long as your fight, if you get into a fight, start losing start losing hulls, start losing shields, you can jump out of the sector and start and get to. I'm using 2 ships. I'm going to kind of do a tag team on this deal. I don't use NPC captains. Why? Because they're dumb as shit. NPCs in the game, the ones, the Zotans, the factions, they get the smart ones. You guys get the rejects. I do not trust them. I don't want to lose ships. So I build 2 ships. Well, obviously this one is my main ship in this game, and this one is of course a different ship, but it's powerful. Instead of building 6 weak ones, I'll build 1 more powerful one. So I'll have 2 ships that are not quite as, this one's not near as powerful as the other one, but it's close. It's close enough that this can make the fight. So I'll use these 2 ships. What I end up doing, we'll jump to those other 2 ships here before I get into the fight, and we'll jump out. So one is of course a repair ship, and one of course is my other. This one's got 430,000 and 11 million shields, plus 30,000 Omicron. It's a tanky bitch. This ship can do it. This one here is a repair. This one's carrying my torpedoes. You're gonna fire a lot of torpedoes sometimes. So I have torpedoes on here to reload the other ship with torpedoes. This one I don't think has torpedoes. I just got the one that's got the torpedoes, and it also carries repair beams. So as I jump him out, if I jump him in, this one's going to repair him. That one I'm going to go back into combat. However, the easiest way, this is of course just preparing you for this if you don't want to do this or don't have to do this, is that we use essentially the Zotan event. If you don't know what the Zotan event is you have to see it if you played the game. It is at about every 45 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever the fuck that is. You'll see subspace signals down below. Be ready, careful, whatever. That means that at some point, some Zotan ships are going to jump in. Now, as long as you don't fire any weapon, the Zotans will never attack you. However, if you wait, for example, I'm sitting in one of these ships. I want to clear that sector of pirates. I'm going to wait until the Zotan event happens, are getting very close, and just before they show up, you can time this. You jump your ship from here into the pirate section, and then of course you kind of maneuver a little ways, wait till the Zotan show up. Zotan will destroy pretty much all the pirates. They'll do wave after wave, kill them all. Zotan only works on pirates, does not work on factions. So if you want to clear a pirate sector, Zotan's the easiest way to do it. Sometimes you don't even have to fire a shot. Sometimes you might have to help the Zotan out if they're starting to get, overrun. You might have to slip over, nail some of the pirates just to help them out. But typically that is the easiest way to do it. You hardly even have to use the second ship, if ever. All you're doing is letting the Zotan clear the sector. Once the Zotan clear the sector, you can jump out and wait a little bit. Zotan will jump out too. Sector's clear. Easy peasy. So with that said, let's jump into this fight. This fight can be either way. You can use this against the factions. You can use it against pirates. That kind of stuff here. So we're going to use dual ships. We're also going to use a repair tender with torpedoes here. So the torpedo on my ships are pointed forward. Here. And I have a set of torpedoes in the back. Here. 4 tubes, 4 tubes. I don't use one singles. I always use sets of 2. Why? Because they seem to have a better luck getting through whatever bullshit the enemy ships have here. So let's pick our spot. We're going to jump in here. We're going to get in the fight here, and I'll show you how to do this. We're not going to get englobed. We're not going to fight in a circle. We're going to spread them out. Already 11 minutes into the video. I've talked this much, so we're going to make this real simple. Simply as possible. Once again, like I said, you can use carriers if you want. I typically don't anymore because carrier spam is not a thing here. So these guys are already pissed. They're already on my shit. So we're going to get out of here. What we're doing is we're going to get that. Okay. So we're going to start bursting our running at speed here. And alright, so we're going to orient ourselves away from him. And then we're going to pick our first target here. So we're going to kind of slow down so that it gets a little closer. And then we're going to use number 2. And we're going to start dropping our torpedoes on them. Okay, so you can see the torpedoes are starting to hit. We're just using some of our torpedoes. So those guys are getting a little bit closer here. We're spreading them out here. Let's launch another set that way at that guy. He's a little further back. So alright, so we've nailed one. And now we're going to start boosting here and get out ahead of a little bit here. We're going to start using our ranged weapons here. So we're going to get out ahead. So we've nailed 2. Now we're going to turn around here. We're going to switch to our forward tubes. We didn't lock onto that one, did I? So see how they're kind of they're going pretty straight here. So I'm going to use my long range weapons to start picking off chunks of health. He's getting a little closer here. We'll use a little bit more that way. Alright, so now we've nailed. So he leaves us 1 here so we can close the distance. Nailed him. So, where are those guys at now? 160 kilometers away. This is the point where you're going to start rebuilding shields. You're going to wait till they come out here. They've spawned at that circle we're talking about. They have to come to you. Typically in this situation, since I'm this far away, my shields are going to slowly rebuild. Hopefully they'll rebuild enough to make this fight. Again, if I don't have the shields or if they've already knocked my shields down and I'm into the point where I'm into my hull, this is where I would jump back to my tender, have the tender repair my ship, I take the other ship, and I would jump back into this sector. If you do it within roughly 10 minutes, this won't reset. If you don't do it within 10 minutes, say you go to 15 or 20, there's a chance that the whole event will be reset and you'll have to refight the waves. So if you do it in a reasonable amount of time, it's okay to jump out, repair, and come back in again. So these guys are coming slowly but surely. They're at 70 kilometers. They're almost So what we're going to do is we're going to jump out and we're going to act like, of course, we're going to get whatever, 53 kilometers. We can also make a pass at them too. I got forward torpedoes up. And we can, of course, make this. He's going to be slowing down, which makes a perfect shot for torpedoes. Yeah, nailed him again. He's also low here, so we're going to use our long-range weapons to nail him. Should be able to finish him with that salvo. Yeah, there we go. 20 kilometers. He's straight out ahead, so there's a pretty good chance that those set of torpedoes should finish him. Otherwise, we'll once again use long-range weapons to destroy him. And now at this point, we're just going to say that we got effed up and we have to make the jump here. Right? So we're going to be streaming for that point and we're going to jump out. We're all effed up. Everything's broke. Right? Big bullies. What we're going to do is here, we're going to tell our repair ship to repair me. And we're going to jump into our other ship. And then we're going to jump back into that sector. And we're going to continue the fight. Easy peasy. Tag team back and forth. You do this, keep doing this. You're going to have no chance of losing your ship. And it's an easy way to clear the sector. This is for, like, you're not super strong. You're weak. Use that range. Use the range guns. Kite them. Use your torpedoes, or jump back in here. So those guys are gonna be out where we left them, which is 122 kilometers away. So got a little bit of time. I'm actually gonna go out and meet them because once I destroy these two, the next bunch will be coming back in here again. So I do have torpedoes on this one. I think I only have one launcher on this one. I don't know why. So we're gonna run out here, and I actually probably gonna go pick up some turrets and stuff. Wait till about 30. There's one. I don't have it. Yeah. So there was the reason why you need to have as much power as you possibly can. Yeah, he's a little too far out for this ship. Ooh, I missed. And there's the reason why with getting this fight is that you don't want having a hard time hitting some of these. Alright, so that spawns the next set of 4, and they'll just keep coming. Easy peasy, very easy to do, and you're not going to lose ships. So with that said, guys, thanks for watching, and have a good night.